Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to today's live session. It's exactly 8 p.m. and we have already started. This video is being recorded for you to come back and review. Other than that, these live sessions are really the best. Okay, so welcome once again. What we're going to be doing today, first, our first 30 minutes is to review the challenge that was given on Tuesday. So, is there anyone here who attempted the challenge on Tuesday? If you were here or if you saw the video, is there anyone who did attempt something? And if you did, can we have the link to the GitHub repo where you did that? Anyone? Okay. Hi, Juliet. Did you attempt something?
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Did you attempt something from on Tuesday's class, the challenge? Did you attempt something?
No, I didn't. Like this week, it was so hectic because I had problem with the task that we had on Monday. So I'm still having challenges because I haven't done that. I haven't finished that task, the projects that we had on Monday. So this week it's so hectic.
All right. Okay. So I assume like because clearly about 10 of us in participants seems like we didn't attempt it. So would review that before moving over to topic of discussions today. What was the task? What was the challenge in this first place? If you recall, what we did was give us something to help us remember, as it were, to help us remember all we learned that Tuesday. So we said you should print a short story about John. And this is the story. John was a coder. He codes in assembly because he's in school. That is line 1. Line 2, he had a CGPA of 4.0. That's line 2. Line 3, line 4, and line 5, we have different stories we are going to print out. This was the tempo challenge. We said you should print this out using all we learned that day. And if you recall, we did learn about a couple of things. We talked about escape sequence, which we will not use here. We did talk about commenting. We talked about variables, data types, assigning of variables. And then we had this challenge to try to help us summarize everything we've learned. We said I will push our work to a GitHub repo called C Learning, and the directory should be day 1. And we had the freedom of naming our files whatever we wish to name it. And so, how might I have done this? So, if you had attempted something, but maybe you can't say it, or because I would like to believe that actually we attempted it and probably maybe network or something is making us not just say anything. But if I was to attempt this, remember I said my class here is going to focus on teaching you the concepts. And it's not just me, but anybody you would ask, starting from Julian, the CTO of ALX, to the mentors, to past participants who have done this program and have succeeded. Well, I'll tell you this thing I'm about to retreat. You focus on tax, you lose everything. I'll repeat. Everybody who have succeeded in this program will tell you these things. You focus on tasks, you lose everything. I didn't say you lose some things. You lose everything. Focus on tasks, you lose everything. So what do you focus on if you don't focus on tasks? You focus on your learning, your understanding, your thinking, your pseudocode, your thought process. That's what you focus on. And that's what I would do for the remainder of this 1 month probation and even a week after, as I want you to understand all the concepts clearly and get the right thought process. So if you look at this, it's something you've done before. Remember, everything we've done before builds on each other. All the projects you've done before just builds on each other. And looking at this, what can you call this thing I've done here as a way to analyze my tax? What can you call this? Answers are welcome from the audience. What can you call this? What I've just written here, I had this tax. This is the tax. And I came here and I'm doing this. So what can you call this? Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Jegede, thank you. Thank you for all the answers. So how many times have you done a pseudocode before attempting any of your tasks? The question you want to ask yourself. How many times have you done a pseudocode before attempting, not while doing, before attempting any of your tasks? Why is a pseudocode important? A pseudocode is what makes you a programmer, because that's where you think. That's where you understand what you are about to do. That's where you try to connect the dots. That is where the real programming is. And so if you're not doing any pseudocode before you attempt your tasks, it therefore means that something is not right with how you are programming. That's the clear truth. If you are not doing any pseudocode before programming, it means something is not right with how you are programming. And so moving on, now that you've known this, try to make sure that before you attempt your next task, do a pseudocode. Yes, you do the pseudocode. So let's look at the pseudocode I created for this problem. So this is the problem, a challenge. Use everything with length. Print out this story. There are not enough clues as to what to do. And here is my thought process. The question said I should print out this John was a coder up until these lines in year 4. John had a CGPA of 3.6. That was the question of 1. And the question of 2 just directly falls under the question of 1. I'm going to write another program that prints the same thing, but it will replace all with the places where I have John with Bwave, and all the places where I have grade A with B. And so the second one is even much more easier than the first. But if I don't do the first, I cannot do the second. So how do I start? And then I'm to push my work to the GitHub repo called C Learning in the directory called day 1. If it were me, as in my pseudocode, my step 1 would be to create a GitHub repo named C Learning. I have this lengthy tags here. John was a coder, I codes in assembly, all of this. And then write another program to replace John with Bwave. And then the final piece of the puzzle. Now, the last thing I was asked to do here, which is my GitHub repo, is what I am doing first in my pseudocode. Create a GitHub repo named C Learning. In my step 2, I'm still on that. Clone it, create my working directory, and create the C file. Can you try to think why, out of all the things I was asked to do here, I decided to put as my step 1 to create a GitHub repo called C Learning? Any ideas as to why I would have thought that this is the best way to start this problem? Answers are welcomed. Yes, please.
I think it will be able to it's not.
Thank you. What if I start by solving the task first, which is my step 3? I would also be able to push it at the end. So why did I start from creating a GitHub repo named C Learning?
It's not possible to solve it. But everything we are doing inside the level. So it's not necessary, but it's important that we create the level before we start our work.
Thank you. But I could also do it, and by the time I'm done, I push it to GitHub. I move the code, the C file, into the repo I create because it's the last thing from the task. So I could go ahead and do all this and move the repo, move the file to the repo and push it to GitHub using mv command. From anywhere it is, I'll move it. But is there a bigger reason? Yes, there is. Look at okay. You want to say something? Go ahead.
I think it helps you so that your work is in order, and even when you get when you have to check, you know you have done all the steps.
Thank you. Now look at this. Out of all these things I'm asked to do, the main task, which is to write a short story, which I'm given here, and to write the second program that replaces all the job with Bwave, and this last step, the GitHub repo C Learning directory day 1. Which of these things is the simplest step so far to go about this task? Which is the simplest one?
Hello?
Yes, you can go ahead.
I think it has to be replacing the names.
Replacing the names.
Yes, that would be this section, the big question 2.
Fine. But this cannot be done without this being done. So there's no way I'll write another program. It falls under the first one. And then they go together.
Well, for me, it's creating the repo. For me, it's the simplest task. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the easiest thing to do in all of this. Creating the repo and cloning it. So that's the first step I have here. And so these two steps would be very easy. I could mark it as done after like 5 minutes. These 2 steps are done. And that's why they are my step 1 and 2. What is the lesson? The first thing you want to do when you have any task, any assignment, any problem, is to look for the simplest step. When you're thinking of your pseudocode, is to look for the simplest step, the simplest, the easiest step. That is the first thing you want to do. The second thing you want to do is to look for the second easiest step. You go from top to bottom, like Nigeria from top to bottom. You go from easy to hard. So when you have any task, do that. Then the step 3 is to solve the task. This was my pseudocode. I kept it quite simple. Step 4 is to push my code to GitHub, and step 5 is to share the link with whoever assigned me this task. And then in step 3, I put this asterisk to solve the task, because solving the task does not break anything down. Inside this step 3, we'll have sub steps. So how might I have solved this task? If there's anyone who has solved it on his own, please feel free to tell me. Let's hold on for like 30 seconds to see if anyone had solved it. Tell us how you did. If not, I would go ahead. So 30 seconds from now. Did anyone try, since we have more participants now, did anyone try to solve this task? Let's see.
I attempted the task, but the thing is, I didn't follow the due process, the steps you and this pseudocode stuff. I didn't do it. I'll just jump into the task. I used variables, but I didn't create the year variable. I declared variable for name, for I used float for the grade, and let me see, let me check. I use star for the name, I use float for the grade. Then I was trying to use the if statement, but I got confused, to be honest, and I just left.
I'm happy we had someone who did attempt something. That's so fine. This thing you're saying reminds me of me, even till date. It happens a lot where I try to overcomplicate a simple task, and at the end of the day, I end up leaving everything because it becomes too complicated. And when eventually someone shares with me a tip, I'm like, hey, now this simple thing that they try to complicate things. But that's the only way to learn, and I'm glad you attempted something like that. I mean, with all these tasks and projects everywhere, they found a way to do this. That's fine. And so next time, just try to write a pseudocode. One of the most difficult things, because it actually looks like it's a waste of time, but until you start doing that, you most likely get confused at one point with the next step. So just as she said she created.
Sorry to cut you. Okay.
Okay, go on.
Before I forget, this pseudocode, is there any way one can just understand it, that we can use it? Because I've tried to use it for some tasks, like for some problems. I still get confused. Like how, I don't know. It's complicated. That is the most difficult part in this program, in this software engineering for me. Pseudocode and algorithm. That is the most difficult part. If I can get these two things, like I can understand this, I am good to go. So I don't know if there's any way we can be of help in this regard.
All right, so let's do that now. Okay, so what tell me some of the things you did while attempting the task. Tell me, what did you do? Let's see how that's related to pseudocode.
I didn't use any step-by-step methods to do it. I just jumped into the task. But now you are bringing up the pseudocode, and I see reasons with you. Like I see reasons why we should use the pseudocode. But it makes, at the end of the day, if you can write out the pseudocode, it makes the job simpler. It makes writing the code easy. You understand? But getting like using the pseudocode to solve the initial part of the problem, because this is the first phase of the problem. If I can be able to use this pseudocode to simplify a task, it's much easier. So for this task, I just jumped into the task. I just like, okay, I need to declare variables. Then
Thank
I
you.
will need
Fine, fine, fine. Sorry to interrupt you. I hardly do not interrupt people, but this is just what I'm looking for. So when you jumped into the task, you did what? Declare variables, right?
Yes, yes.
All right. So in my pseudocode, check my own step A. It was to, what did I put here?
You create 3 variables for names, CGPA, grade, and year.
That's it. The same thing you did was what I thought would be wise to do, considering what we learned last time on variables. That is pseudocode. Rather than me using typing, like creating it on the program, I first wrote it down somewhere. So in my head, I painted a mental picture that I have variables for name, CGPA, grade, and year. What was the next thing you did after creating these variables? What was the next thing you did in your program? In your own program?
Let me look at it. I wrote the if. I was trying to write the if. In fact, the next thing I did initially was to use the printf. But I now later said no, I need an if statement like to check the CGP and all that. At this point, honestly, I got confused.
Yeah. Now there's something you said you first did, and that was to use the printf statement. And in my step B, that is exactly what I did. Use the printf statement to print out my statement or the story, and then reference the variables I've created. That was the same thing I did. And so how might this look like in code? This step, how did this look like in my code? Let's go to my code now. And want to go into intents and so how did it look like in my code? Look like something like this. Let's keep this in BI so that it would be clear for you now to understand. So let's call this challenge 1. Okay, let me make this smaller. And can we quit this now and open it again? Not showing well. So let me open Ubuntu again to see how my step 3 did look like in code. And then VI into challenge 1. Okay, so this is how my step 1 did look like in code. This is step 1. Step 1. And this is step 2. So all this here, I can now put a comment that says, more like step 1. I could keep this in a commented fashion. So I could do something like step 1. And from here, was step 2, using the printf statement to assign whatever needs to be assigned. That was my step 2 in code. And you could see I left spaces so that you can easily understand why I'm using what for each scenario. So how do I reference my variables here now? For example, in the story, I'm asked to print something like John was a coder. Here's how I wrote it. %s was a coder. He codes in assembly because he's in school. Then I reference my variable here as name. And if you see my code up here, I've declared a variable named name, and its value has John, and it's of the string data type. So something I wanted to talk about today, especially with people who did it. How were you able to fix this, since characters and strings are two different things? And that was the whole reason why I wanted to even review this, because I was like almost 95% confident that everybody who watched this, either in the video or live here, would have attempted something and had an issue here. And I wanted to know how you would fix this. Because as you can see, we have two variables of the same type, char character here, as I like to call it, not char. And one has these square brackets. The other one has no square brackets. And why do we have something like this? So it would have been a problem you would face if you had done this. And then when we reference this one that has the square brackets, we use %s and call it name. But when we reference the one that had no square brackets called grade here, we use %c. It was something that I really wanted to see how you would have done that. That was the whole essence of the learning. That was the whole essence of what the class was for. Just in case the colors we are looking at weird, I've made them correct now. And this is comments. I use comment to describe step 1, step 2, just the way I wrote it here on in my pseudocode. So after using printf to print out my statements and reference the variable, I use comment to give a description of what each variable is doing. So I would have gone ahead here to not just write step 1 and step 2, but be like car, and here where I have character, I'm going to pretty much add another comment. Now this is a valid way to comment in C by just these 2 exclamations. Anything I write here is a comment. The compiler is not going to hold me for that, but it's not valid according to Betty standards. So I'm probably going to write variable name for the name of the person in our story. And I'm pretty much going to do the same for each variable I create, so that looking at this code in 2 months' time, I would have a clear idea of what I did. You can see %d, %s, anywhere I have to reference my variable. And here I have a %f, 1.1f. Why do I have something like this here? 0.1f here. But yeah, I had only %f. But yeah, I had %.1f. If you remember, if you recall what we did that day. So let me compile this and save it to an output file called challenge. Let's go and compile this. Now, if I write challenge, watch what happens. He had a CGPA of 4.0. That's where I had a 0.1F. But where I didn't have it, I got 4.0000, which is not my story. At least not what I was asked to print. But then, if I had followed according to this my step A, B, and C, these 3 steps, if I had done everything exactly, I would have had a problem. Look at what we're asked to print. In year 2, year 3, year 4, he had a CGPA of 3.6 in year 4, and then 4.0 for these 2 years. And then we have year 2, year 3, year 4. But my code compiles, but I have year 2, year 2, year 2. And then I have 4.0, 4.0, 4.0. I'm supposed to have year 3, year 4. And I'm supposed to have 3.6 here. So how would I fix that? Because another thing I wanted to talk about, with the assumption that you did try the challenge, at least everyone to this point, because it means that I would have to change the value of my variables. Remember, I declared the variable here as year 2. So anywhere I have year, you can see here, yeah, you can see here too. Anywhere I have the year, going to automatically replace it with 2. But in some instances, I want to replace that year, which is 2, to 3 and 4. So this printf is supposed to print in year 2, and this one was supposed to print in year 3. So how should I have done that? It turns out that I can just do this year and then equal to 3. Would this work? Let's try it. This was something exciting I learned when I was learning. And so someone is giving me a WhatsApp call at this time, knowing fully well that I'm in a meeting. Hi, now wow. All right, let's see what we have. So did it work? Let's compare that again. In year 2, but the next place I changed my variable, I have year 3, and then I add down, I also add year 3. So you see how easy it was for us to change the value of our variable. We continued with the same variable name. We didn't put the type again. We just wrote year equal to 3. This is us modifying our variables. And here I can come down and also write something like, as you would assume, year equal to 4. And this would still work. Also, I think. So it works. Year 2, year 3, and year 4. It means that in this our whole puzzle, what we have to do now is to restrict all of these to just 1 digit. And everything I'm doing here, I wrote it down here first. Like the changing of the value of the variables to fit the story. As the story progressed, we had year 2, year 3. I continue to change the value of the variables to fit that story. That was exactly what I did here too. And that's what I'm doing there. And so all I needed to do, or all I had to do, was just to come here now and put the 0.1F, the same thing that I've been doing since. Put the %.1. Everywhere I have the %F, I do the same thing, 0.1. And lastly, 0.1. And then the last grade was supposed to change from 4.0 to 3.6. So I could come and do grade equal to 3.6. And this would end that seemingly complex problem. Oh, I have a problem here, a big problem. I was supposed to change CGPA, but I went to change the value of grade. And you can see my compiler is giving me a character, a question mark character. Done something I'm not supposed to do. I'm going to fix that. So rather than grade, I'm supposed to have CGPA. That would fix my problem. Compile again. And this was exactly the same story. I had no clues on printing. After doing this one now, I'm now asked to write another program. So I pretty much copy everything I have in this program already and write another program and change the value of John with Bwave and then change the value of grade A with B. Once I get this whole task, this first one, the second one becomes so easy and I'm done. Most of your tasks you have are actually like that. They build on each other. And the debugging tasks that we're going to look at in no time, I'm going to explain more of that. How they build on each other. And the reason why every successful person in this program, when you try to bug the person with, I'm stuck, please, there's a deadline. Every successful person, check out them. Cohort 5, I think we still have 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9. We'll just tell you to calm down and relax. And this is the reason. I'm going to give you one reason now why they would probably tell you to calm down and relax. Where is that reason? So let me show you my accounts in ALX. Can someone see my overall score about 6 months into my program? Can someone tell me my overall score here? If you can see it, can you tell us? Most of your scores now are higher than mine. Can someone tell me my score for section 2 as we speak? We'll be going into section 3 in 79.38. What's your cutoff mark? 80. And I have 79 and I'm calm. This is expiring at least the first deadline. There's nothing like expire. Your project do not expire, but the first deadline is ending in 9 hours. And this project is how many percent done? 0% done. 0%. All right. So the next time I'm asking you to calm down, there's a good reason for it. Before coming here, I was actually on the project. I had not pushed anything to GitHub, but I was on this project. No worries. I could push and the checker would do what it knows how to do. I've not pushed, so if I check my code now, it's going to say, oh, fail. That's normal. So normal to me. But even if it does say this after I'm done with my project, that you can see I don't have the option of seeing details. There's still no worry here. In 4-5 days time, we are going to be done with sprint 2 and we'll be going to our third sprint, our final sprint before the specialization. And I have this on my head, but my score is 79 and there seems to be no worries. I finished section 1 with 105 and overall is 94. When some people have overall of 117, 130. But what's the trade-off for all of this calmness? I can speak now to defend what I've done. So you ask me, like, you can see this. Now, let me show you something. When I did functions and nested loops in C programming, can someone tell me what was my score out of 200%? So the next time I ask you to calm down, it's not because I don't understand what you're doing. check out these static libraries and see at the time I did it, what was my score out of 200% or 100? So I did this in the third deadline. And let's go and see something. Now let's look at this printf project that has the weight of 5.0. What's my score? All right. All right. That's all. And now in sprint 2, where you think that I should have been an expert in Python, more classes and objects, what's my score? And lastly, when we are now doing SQL, what do I have as scores here? So next time he tells you to calm down or fix it, you got it, you should know that he's just telling you what he has been through. So now I've shown you that. I actually decided to show you because I got some comment from some people in different groups. One was telling me to, in my videos I'm posting, I should do all the tasks. Don't I know that at least I should do 100% of the tasks? I should not be doing it half. I was like, the same response. Oga, calm down. Once again, you focus on tasks, you lose it all. I hope that was enough to give you a practical distance. They say seeing is believing. I'm actually not the type that likes to see before I believe. If I trust you, I'll believe without even having to see anything. Most people have trust issues. The next time I tell you to calm down, I know what I'm saying. But now, that my tax where I did see, when I did it like 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and I had 75%, there's someone who is presuming, who I think is in this meeting now, that I finish our own tax 200% in 5 minutes. I timed myself. So in 5 minutes, I was able to do that same thing that 4 months ago I got 75%. I was able to get 200%. Now that's growth. That is growth. And so I can be proud of where I've come so far. And I'm happy to show my failures with you and try to explain to you the thought process. So it all boils down to putting in reasonable amount of effort and just having it at the back of your mind that failing is all part of the process. And so, Malik, yes, before we now fix your issues, can you go on? I see your hands raised. Please go on.
Okay, like I am like it's wow, like I see your score, man. So I don't know because for me it's been the score. Honestly, me I will not lie. I chase after the score like the way people are chasing after dollars. I chase after the score, but honestly, like some of those projects that I can't even defend them. Like I just do them and you ask me to redo them again, it's in fact I will just go and start that again. You understand? So I think I need to like as you said, calm down and follow the process. But if I may ask, like because this the materials, the resources they are giving they are not even enough to take on those tasks. So I know one can use other resources like Google and all that. But is there any roadmap, like any step that you think from your own experience to take on this task, like for so that one can after doing the task, I will be able to understand that to go through the resources, answer those questions, then go start with the tag. I don't know if there's any. I don't know from your own experience. Is there any roadmap? It's becoming overwhelming.
Okay, thank you for that. I wanted to on my video, but I don't know. Immediately I switched on the video, I started saying that the network is fluctuating. So that's why it switched off back. Yes, what I did, as you can see from the scores at that time, 75%, and then now I can do 200 in 5 minutes. What I did that time was, I see your tax. The morning I wake up, I look at the tax, I see more functions and nested loops. I nod my head and say, all right, that's okay. I hear. I'll try to go through the resources. I'm not a resource person. If the resources are looking long, I'm out. I don't go. Otilo, I don't waka. I'm not a reading person. So I go to YouTube. And rather than look for the tags, rather than seeing C functions and nested loops, I'll go and search C for complete beginners. And that's why when I did my own C video, which I've done 2 parts, because of time, I've not been able to continue. But when I did my own, I named it exactly the name I searched for. I named it exactly the name I used to search for videos that time. For complete beginners. This was exactly the name. C for absolute beginner. Exactly what I used to search for. C for absolute beginners. That was the same thing I named my own. I used to search for here. See, it's just giving me because it knows how I do. And here, I've gone through most of these playlists. You can see this 4 hours course. It's showing that I've gone through it. This one, I've gone through it. Many of them. This one, I've gone through it. And I'm not even scared of the time. 4 hours, 3 hours, 46 minutes, 2 hours. That's what I used to focus on. I will do every example the guy did in his tutorial and add my own. Look at this 10-hour video. I attempted it, but I think I had a problem. Either he doesn't speak English or something. Something made me leave this video. This was what I was really interested in learning. I was like, okay, fine, I have 80%. If I pass this probation, would this thing slow down? No. So it's useless if I pass and I don't know it. That was what I told myself. If I fail, then that's fine. Fortunately, I began to see that the more I'm able to think more in terms of problem solving, the more I could answer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of like 10 questions. I could now answer 5 in like the 3rd deadline. I was like, let me answer 5 by myself. And then I connect with 1 or 2 of my peers in the same cohorts. And I don't used to tell them, tax 3 is not working. Tax 3 is not working. No. I ask them specific questions. I do things like, I went to your GitHub. I saw that you had %C. And I've been doing %S. I've checked Google and I can't understand why you are doing %C. This angle brackets greater than or equal to, this sign that I sent in the message now, greater than or equal to. I used to call it angle brackets, an equal sign. It was one of my peers that told me that this is greater than or equal to. I was like, oh. Because at that point I knew I had to learn a lot. Then there's this %sign in C, which means modulus. Before I could understand what modulus actually means, I was watching videos. So this was what I was asking them. Not it's not working. It's not working. Make it work now. It's just a simple answer. If it's not working, make it work. But when you tell someone this modulus, the person could tell you I'm busy. And yes, that's true. Even me, sometimes I'm busy to Even if you want to teach me, I'm busy like to even listen. But overall, slowly but surely, I began to see that these videos, these hours of watching and practicing, so I could be on the computer for straight 7 hours and I've not done tasks. I'm practicing these things. So like this 3 hour video, I would say if I spend 6 hours, that is 3 hours to watch, 3 hours to practice, won't I understand everything this guy is saying? And to be honest, this guy from Giraffe Academy actually understood his video. After understanding, it was now time to go back to the tax. And when I went back to the tax, I saw header file main.h, which was completely different from what this guy did in his example throughout. 4 hours video I watched, just one question. So at times I left them. Like you could see 0% in some. I just left everything like almost. But at the end, give or take, I actually got my first offer from one video I did on YouTube that's no longer there. Because that video has been, someone has bought that video off YouTube for me to actually teach the person and his group of people. Got my first offer from the person from that video. So at the end, all these hours of doing what doesn't make sense, because I'm not looking for tax now, paid off. And it's paid off. Eventually, though, you would have to find a balance. Let's be realistic, a balance between your tax and your scores. It's a big risk to take to completely ignore your tax while trying to learn, because the tax are the best way to learn because they are problem solving. So the tax plays mind games with you, it twists everything for you. That balance, when it's time, I would also be the one to ask, what's your score? You say 20 something. Hope you are aware that on Friday the probation is ending. Oh yeah, let's start. I know how to find that balance too. And so I found that balance eventually toward the end of the program. And give or take, I'm now where I am now. So let's look at your errors now briefly before we do the live coding. If you have more questions on any of these things I've said, send me a message either on any group I am, preferably on the groups that I am, or send me a message. But let's look at your problems now. So where is currently giving you an issue now as we speak? Just tell us before we move over to debugging.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome.
My
We
name
can
is
hear you.
Allah Ibrahim. It was somebody from your group that made me join this group. I am a novice when it comes to programming. A blunt beginner who has no knowledge. But I want to learn. But the issue I have is maybe I'm trying to balance. I have to pass the foundation. Later learn. I want to learn. But I have side issue also. This is what I'm trying to go through. I can't stay longer the system for a longer hour. That's just my own thing. I can read, need to understand, but this one now teach me I need. But the mistakes I see here is I need if this your program is constant and continually, I will pick up. That's one thing I have. If I keep hearing something regularly and I can understand it, I will like. I will become myself. Thank you for your enlightenment and your tip. I love them. But there are some things I want to talk about teaching. When you teach us, sometimes when you talk to a point, you just leave it. Not everybody who I just joined not about 2, 3 days ago. So those things you say that you skip, others who are there might understand, but me, I don't understand. And it keeps giving me problems.
Thank you
Yeah.
for
Like
saying your
example, let me
mind.
give an example. When you are talking about the is it the header, not the auditor? Sorry for my explanation. When you are doing it, you got to a stage, said you won't do it like this again. So those that have been following you for more than 2, 3 weeks, you understand? I joined maybe 2, 3 days ago. I don't get. I have to go back, start looking at it, looking at it. Okay, I will leave it to it. Okay, so you're saying, but still, I still have some mistakes. Like the one I did last, what we did before, the C programming. There's two tasks I didn't do there. I have to leave it at 11 and 12, didn't match. I tried, I checked, I couldn't figure that.
I understand what you're saying. And there's something that, okay.
Today start. There's a place you are teaching. When you got to a place, I couldn't do that 3 and 4. I got it too, but underscore flip chart is telling me I did not do something right there, which I couldn't just continue again. Since around 2 o'clock, I have to dance. I just left my system. I went to go and sleep. By next week, I won't be available. I have to travel again. So when you're explaining, please, those places you think those who are following you understand, please don't cut. For those coming in for the first
All right. Gotten. I don't know if the network is from my side, but I've...
somebody in your class that has been following for the past, my senior, please, I want you to work on that area. Your teaching is good. You are an expert. If somebody could learn like this and understand, I'm ready to give time to learn. I want to, please.
Okay, fine. Thank you. There's something you said that interests me. I hope the network allows me to. Okay, now. I don't know if you can see my video on.
Yes.
You talked about eye problem. Looking
Yes.
at screen.
Yes, I'm seeing you. I saw you yesterday, when you put one glass and another glass. I saw you. That was the first time I joined your class.
I don't have any underlying health challenge. For this glass, it's not for fun at all. There's one that is for fun that I recently saw one time. One of those shiny. I don't even know how I managed to see that glass around me. I just wore it that day when I was talking about how to see. So later, let's talk about this glass.
Okay.
I used to have eye problem before. But we'll talk about this glass because it's wonderful. This type. So you can get it. And for any other person, take care of your eyes. Oh, it's your assets. In programming, your eyes and your hands and your brain, now they do the work. So even someone in wheelchair can land a job at Google. But someone with a blinded eyes, so anything eyes, let's say. Then what you said, gotten, I'll work on that. I try to, as much as possible, break everything down to low terms where you can understand. But we are all humans, and so I cannot be in everybody's mode of understanding. But according to how I understood, I try to break it down again and again and again. So I'll work on that. But to give you everything, no. You said something. Mr. Balogo, I see you. I'm just coming. I'm coming.
Yes.
I'm coming, please, just now. 1 minute, please. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
So, Mr. Ibrahim, you said something that you had to go and look and you got it. But you still have errors. And now you start the program. Forget those ones that I'm doing since. So, Mr. Balogo, please go ahead.
Hello, Mr.
Yes. Meanwhile, yes, Mr. Balogun, please go ahead. Meanwhile, Mr. Ibrahim, I see your message. You said, does that mean I don't have any programming background? It's one question I like to dodge. Yes, I did have programming background. In fact, strong ones. I'll share with you one of the websites I built. But there's something about core concepts. And I'll share with you one of the cool websites I built before now. And now, I was actually telling someone in my course that now, with my experience, I'm going to go back to this website, if possible, this December. If where I am now, they will give me time to complete, to do something in that website. But there's something about core concepts and doing the main work. For example, I've seen many people say in the group that this ALX, I beg, they should go, Joe. After all, they start citing instance. One of my friends that is working in Canada said, no, these things they used to do in work. That's true. In work, nobody will give you main.h. Start putting put char. However, learning that concept can help you do something. So what I used to do before was, let me compare it to driving. You know, there are many people that know how to drive. You probably know how to drive. Yeah. You probably know how to drive very well. But this one that I'm hearing my voice back, it's not sounding nice. So, Mr. Balogun, please, can you mute? I'll soon call you, please. Thank you. So that I don't get a call back. In driving, many people know how to drive. What if I told you that 85% of the people driving, maybe including you don't used to follow the driving law at all? Remember that vehicle you entered that day that you were coming back, that the driver in your front was driving slow, that your own driver was not saying, you be woman, come off for road. Remember that day now? Especially if you are in places like Lagos, Port Harcourt. You remember that day? That driver that was driving slow was actually following the core concept of driving. Because I know that day he was not driving in espresso. Small road, small third road that you people were driving. What your driver wanted him to. So when there's traffic jam, you would see how they go so close. The way my hand is now, that's the distance between them and the next car. Well, in driving law, that's not how it's supposed to be. It's the same thing with programming. Very few people even know that. Like this modular sign you did now, and this greater than. These core concepts are not really what I used to use in my programming before. I came back to get the core concepts from ALX. And that's why no matter how good someone claims to, there's nobody who will do ALX here that won't struggle. See that person that in 5 minutes is done with all his tasks. It's his first time doing this program. 5 minutes is done with all his tasks. Tasks today is done. Tomorrow is done. Next week is done. 2 months time is still done. Hear that person. Because that person is not doing this tasks. He would have struggles. And it was those kind of struggles I had. What programming background helped me to do was not to quit. That was the only thing it just helped me to do. Because you will continue to face these struggles. Even years later, still continue struggles like this. Mr. Balogun, you have been wanting to say something, please.
Yes. Mr. Lily.
Yes,
Please.
please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me, sir? Let me first commend all your efforts so far, because when the first time I met you was when I watched your video on probation, and that has been a source of energy for me to continue, because looking at the analysis you did in order to break that thing down, then give me a sort of
encouragement that there is somebody that we can call a master at this level. So I will say I give you kudos for going to that extent in order to make this easy for somebody like us. And I want to say something about the challenge that we having. I took it upon myself to sit down and rewrite some of this programming. Just I create a particular directory, a repo for myself inside LS. But what I do is that when I finish everything down, I discovered that by the time we share Betty, the error will be so much that I might be battling with just one for a whole day. It has been a child. We are looking at it. That's okay. I may look at the other one, maybe one repo. I said, this thing is correct. Why this man is complaining like this? It has been a tug of war for me. Hello?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
So I want to see something concerning that, please. Yes, sir.
It has been a tug of war.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the game. Now today you start.
Okay, sir.
That's all you need to know.
Okay. Okay.
I beg you, next.
All right.
Don't have something to say. And that would be it for today. I hope you did enjoy a whole lot from this video, and if you benefited from it, please kindly subscribe to my channel, like this video, and drop a positive comment. If you also have questions, go ahead and ask me in the comment section. Until I see you next time, it's a goodbye from me.